I hate to announce this. Just want to give it to you before you hear it in the streets. My son, Brandon Smiley, passed away this morning. I'm on my way to the airport. Pray for me. I'm okay. And the car's actually here to pick me up now. Life come with a whole bunch of twists and turns. I don't care where you go or what. I just don't know what to do. I can't think. I don't have an appetite, but I feel bad for her. Muslim Miss Nichols up in Memphis, I feel bad for her. All the parents that have ever been through this just never thought I would be a member of an organization where you have to bury your kid. It's a terrible nightmare.
Black people, it ain't just comedians. Black people don't like boundaries. Ooh. And I'm one of the type of people, I'm an alpha male. I said what I said. What I say what I mean what I say. I am my grandfather's grandson.
At first, it seemed like the usual case with Depp to most people, but now the truth about what actually happened with Rickey Smiley's son is finally out. And let's just say the comedian himself had more than a hand in how things turned out. And what's more is that the whole thing is tied to a seemingly occultic group.
Sometimes, man, we artists and entertainers, we get a vibe. We get a vibe off of the music.
In the entertainment industry at large, it's not uncommon to hear stories about certain big celebrities being involved in occultic controversies, whether directly or indirectly. Well, it seems like Smiley might have always been one of those very people, as a new update has just hit the media about how the events that led up to his son's death might have involved him getting sacrificed. But what makes this whole thing even more diabolical is that this grand revelation about the state of things with him actually came from the comedian himself. That's right, the star himself actually put out a cryptic message about his son's death that had several people on social media asking questions about what he was trying to insinuate. And while that wasn't addressed, it's now led to a theory that some may consider far-fetched but actually has some substance to it. For the tragic story, stand-up comedian and radio personality Rickey Smiley is mourning the loss of his eldest son. The talk show host announced on Instagram over the weekend that his son Brandon passed away at the age of 32. "I just had bad news this morning. I'm on the way to the airport to get to Birmingham. I just want everybody to pray for me, pray for our family," Rickey said in a video. "My son, Brandon Smiley, has passed away this morning.
I'm on my way to the airport. Pray for me. I'm okay."
Rickey hasn't disclosed the cause of death, but did say that he was okay during the video. Later during the video, the comic also passed along some pretty cryptic details about his life and family in general. He said, "Now I see what my granddaddy went through and why he felt the way he felt. My granddaddy went through this with my dad, and somehow, here I am going through the same thing my grandparents went through. So just pray for our family." This makes you wonder exactly what he was referring to, and this very reason is why there's a theory on the internet surrounding the tragic loss. And just like his father, Brandon was also a stand-up comedian and actor who many believe was sacrificed by his father to a confraternity group called the Omega Psi Phi. Now, on paper, Omega Psi Phi fraternity is a historically African-American fraternity. The fraternity was founded on November 17, 1911, by 3 Howard University juniors and their faculty advisor. Since its founding, the organization has chartered over 750 undergraduate and graduate chapters. Omega Psi Phi is the first fraternal organization founded at a historically Black university. However, beyond the details that meet the eyes, there are some that aren't generally as clear. Like many fraternal organizations, Omega Psi Phi has a rich tradition of practices. While some traditions are naturally secret, many are freely expressed in public. A popular one is referring to members as Quadogs or Quez. Another is the practice of members voluntarily undergoing branding of the letters or variations and designs based on them, such as 2 linked Omega symbols on their skin. The brands often are displayed in public as a matter of pride. Some prospects first learn of the fraternity by seeing members bearing brands. Questionable details like this surrounding the fraternity are what have now led people to think that Rickey might have been referring to practices like this when he said he didn't think it'll get to this point for him. But there's still a lot more.
To their bottom. Let them talk. They don't buy no clothes. I give you clothes. If I stop talking to you, then you got something to be worried about.
You see, while the actual details of what led to Brandon's death are still pretty much a maze, this isn't the first time the comedian's family has seemingly been attacked, particularly his kids. In 2020, he shared that his daughter, Erin, had been shot after gunfire broke out around her while waiting at a stoplight in Houston. She survived the harrowing incident, but Rickey was understandably shaken. "I'm trying to pack a bag. Don't know what to bag. Can't think straight. Nerves bad. Butterflies in my stomach," he said. "My daughter in surgery. Can't even get to her. I don't know what to do. We got to stop gun violence. Parents shouldn't have to go through this."
My daughter was shot last night, and she was shot. Was on her way to Whataburger, to get something to eat, and I think she was at a stoplight, and some guys got out of the car and was shooting at each other, and she got hit twice.
At the time, the attack on his daughter was so serious that she actually came back a year later to tell the story herself. Per the reports, Erin, a student at Baylor University, opened up about the impact and aftermath of the traumatic incident. Sharing a series of graphic photos to her Instagram page, the 20-year-old thanked her 63K followers for their support, adding she finds it hard to talk about the attack 6 months on. In the powerful post, she admitted how close she had come to losing her life. She wrote, "It brings me to tears thinking about how every bullet that hit me, the car I was in was made to go through anything. But the only bullet that would have hit me straight in the head wasn't." In the heartfelt caption, Rin also revealed that aside from her physical scars, she suffers from PTSD and has anxiety attacks when she drives at night. She said, "I get anxiety anytime I'm stopped at a red light. For a while after my accident, I didn't want to leave the house because I was so afraid." Considering that a lot of emotions were involved with his daughter's terrible ordeal, it only makes you wonder how difficult it must have been to lose his son, but it still establishes a pattern in events that have taken place in his life nonetheless. In fact, the comedian has always been pretty loud in talking about just how much his children mean to him, right from time. Specifically, he has said, "I have a foundation called Front Row Kids. I buried my father when I was 6 years old. And a lot of kids from the church, different kids from the community that had to bury a parent, I kind of sympathized with that," he told the ladies of The Real in 2015. He shared that stepping up in that way also required his biological children to make some sacrifices as well. "We take those kids out on boating trips because I'm a boater and I go fishing a lot with my sons. I just appreciate my sons for opening up their heart and their home and accepting other kids. But we really have raised between 12 and 15 children."
People got to stop going in on people for their individual choices. You have a right to make that choice if you think that's going to work for you and your child.
All of these details regarding this man's loss, coupled with the fact that he happens to be a member of a not-so-conventional fraternity group, have led people into thinking something much more diabolical than meets the eyes may have happened to Brandon. And while his own video hinting at something of the sort didn't actually help, the fact that the Omega Sci-Fi has been in the headlines for other not particularly great news also makes things a lot worse. According to reports, 3 of the 5 officers who were arrested and charged with second-degree murder after the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols were Quez, the nickname for Omega Sci-Fi members. Here's a little peek at some of what they did.
Nichols is surrounded again at a street corner not far from Nichols' home. It's here that a significantly more brutal assault takes place.
The National Greek Letter Organization announced in a statement that it had revoked the membership of 3 officers, whom it did not name. The Memphis Commercial Appeal identified them as Tadarius Bean, who had been president of his chapter at the University of Mississippi, Emmett Martin III, and Desmond Mills Jr. A few days ago, on behalf of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Incorporated, we joined with all other caring, thoughtful, decent, and fair-minded people in America and around the world in extending our deepest sympathy to the family of Tyre Nichols, Rickey L. Lewis, the Grand Basilius of the National Fraternity, said in a statement Tuesday. "We have since learned that 3 of the former Memphis police officers involved in the horrific incident were members of our organization. That is devastating. Effective immediately, the fraternity has revoked the membership of the 3 former Memphis police officers and all related privileges they may have enjoyed as members of our fraternity." Well, let's just say a lot of people are already beyond convinced that Rickey might be a little shady about all of this, and many of these people haven't been quiet. One user wrote, "When I saw that Rickey Smiley's son Brandon was dead at 32, I immediately thought about how he tried to sacrifice his daughter Erin back in 2020 when she was shot 3 times, but she survived. I guess he had to make sure this one didn't slip through the cracks. In truth, no one knows exactly what the story is here, but with theories like this flying around, it's only a matter of time before the truth gets out." That's it for this video. Goodbye.